Welcome back to the show. Today, we're joined by Kristen Numan, an extraordinary channel and spiritual teacher whose spiritual gifts have guided countless individuals on their journeys. Kristen had a near death experience where she encountered divine beings, underwent a transformative life review, and returned with profound insights and a renewed sense of purpose. Kristen, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you.
Kristen, before we start, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a medium and a psychic?
Yes, actually, I was a banker for 15 years. When I graduated high school, I went right into banking. I developed heart issues. So I have electrical issues with my heart, is how I describe it. Plumbing is good, electrical issues. And I wound up being forced to stay home because of passing out and the severity of what I have. So it wasn't my heart issues, my health, that triggered my awakening. It was actually because of my husband. So in 2016, in the summer of 2016, he was supposed to acquire a business that he had been gearing towards for a few years. And when that didn't happen, he's so deserving and works so hard. So that's what triggered me. And I remember saying, there's got to be something else than someone else pulling the strings. And that was the kickoff point to my awakening.
Were you religious before your spiritual awakening?
I was raised Catholic, but not super religious. Honestly, I didn't feel comfortable. I was being told things that didn't resonate with me, that type of thing. And so when I had my spiritual awakening and I had what I call the Superman effect, I could see, hear, feel, know, taste, smell, everything happened all at once. I was not one to be able to see in my mind's eye and imagine things. So when I awakened and had all of this happen, it was communicating with guides and God and all this, and relearning everything. It was really a profound experience, because then eventually, after channeling for a little while, I finally did meet Jesus, Yeshua. So that was a big deal for me as well. So it really did turn my world upside down with everything, that you're taught. And then when spirit comes in, it's those that have awakened, it's like this big, profound thing. We have a higher self. What is all this stuff? So it was relearning everything.
Coming from a religious background, Catholic, I can relate to, I was raised Catholic as well. How did you integrate your spiritual awakening and your religious background, and not lose your mind in a way? Because
Yes.
it's easier to think that you're losing your mind.
Yes, it does. So, for example, let me start off by saying, if viewers if you're able to close your eyes and I'm able to say, can you picture a tree and an apple on the tree? Can you see that in your mind's eye? I could not. I was not visual in that way at all. My husband and daughter are, they can see everything, close their eyes and see family sitting together at the table. So when I had this Superman effect happen, it was spirit's way of saying, this is real, this is happening. And then they took it all away except for the knowing and feeling. So I had to learn to trust myself, because I had a repeated pattern in life of being bullied. So I thought I was always wrong and I depended on everybody else to tell me things. So this was really a growing experience for me. With this awakening and having different ascended masters like Jesus and Buddha come forward, Hindu deities, goddesses, all of these beings that I've never heard of came forward, and they would tell me what they would do, and they would say, Google it, look it up. And I would, and they'd give me Sanskrit words and everything, and I would look it up. So it really, I'm still dumbfounded by this. And I've been doing this for almost 8 years now. And it really, I was never one that always went to church. It's something I was not comfortable with. So as I, was older, on my own, married and everything, I did not do that. But I had I believed in God. I had my own beliefs, and I would speak to God. And during what I've learned in this process is I'm basically at church all the time because I communicate with them all the time. I love it. It's fun. It's joyful, and it's really enhanced my life, which is why I share with other people.
That is beautiful. Yeah, I can actually relate with you as far as not feeling like you don't have to go to church. Like once
Right.
you experience that connection on such a deep level with the divine,
Yes.
whether it is God, your angels, Mother Mary, Jesus, it's just it's something that, at least speaking from my personal experience, I could never find a church. And although I would go to church when I was younger,
Mhm.
I always felt like there was something missing until I started going inward. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I like this one better.
Yes. Well, you said it right there. It's all about, we always look outside of ourselves, and
Mhm.
that's exactly what spirituality is. When you awaken, the guides want you to go within.
Exactly. Exactly. But Kristen, we can go on a very long tangent there,
Yes.
talking about spirituality and awakening, and I'm up for it. But so tell us a little bit about so the day of your near death experience. Can you tell us what was going on, and then just take it from there and walk us through it?
Yes. So, like I said, I've had electrical issues with my heart for many years, over 10 years. Um, my daughter is 22, so it's about that long that I've had that. So, November 3rd is also my husband's birthday. We are high school sweethearts. He has his own business, and usually he's not home. So he said, I'm going to stay home on my birthday. And actually, our daughter, who's in college, works busy lifestyle, she was home as well. So for both of them to be home, totally orchestrated, divinely orchestrated. I was running a group channeling class that day. It was going to be at 10 o'clock. So it was like 8 o'clock ish or so. And I was going to go take my shower, but I felt good that morning. It was one of my better mornings. I do have a lot of episodes. It's a total drum solo in there. I have a lot of arrhythmias and everything going on. So I can feel dizzy and sick, and it affects all of my body. So I felt very good that morning, and I went in to take my shower. I remember it specifically, I put conditioner in my hair, and you know how you sometimes let it sit in there just to let it do its thing. I put the conditioner in my hair, and I turned to face the water, and I always say prayers when I face the water. And that's when it happened. I knew something was going on. I leaned immediately against the wall in the shower. And as soon as I did that, my spirit came out of my crown, the top of my head, and I faced myself. And I watched myself slide down and fall and hit my head on the marble in the shower. And my husband, if he would have been in any other room in the house, he wouldn't have known. But he was laying in bed, and the door was open to the shower. And the dogs were on the bed. And it got their attention. And my husband said, whatever you did, you got the dog's attention. And when I didn't answer, he looked and saw me on the floor. And I was starting to turn blue and then purple. But when I came out, I only saw a few things, and I couldn't see myself super clearly. I knew it was me when I came out of the crown. I knew exactly what was happening just because of, I guess, the work that I do. When you do this kind of work, you just have this. I had this awareness. I knew what was happening. I saw myself turn purple. I saw my daughter's face, and she's just steadfast, just like her dad. There's something that needs to be done. Let's do it. Then I was able to see and hover above the ambulance, and I could see they were breathing for me. They were saying my name. Okay, Kristen, we need your help. We're doing this. We need your help. And then after that is when I left my body. I did not have a pulse for quite a bit of time. We don't know how long. But when the ambulance came, they told my husband we got a pulse back, which was a shock to him and to hear it, because we were talking about what happened not too long ago again with a friend of mine. And to hear that, put it in perspective that I had no pulse for over 5 minutes. So he had to do constant chest compressions because I kept turning blue and purple. So then I was rushed to the hospital, in which I was unresponsive and intubated for about 20-ish hours or so. So I had a lot of time in spirit. So when I came out, and after the ambulance, I went right to source, right to God. And you just know who it is. To describe how God looks, and I say God, but source, all that is this beautiful, loving ball of energy. And it is like this, God is this warm yellow, like this intense, beautiful yellow that you can look at, like when you look at the sun, but it's like an intense sunset, but it's a certain yellow. So when you see like that yellow just before it turns to orange, that's God. That's what I saw. And it's this beautiful masculine and feminine energy, light, loving. I always thought it was a fault of mine to be so childlike, to be silly and goofy. And when I was with God, this was one of the things that was told to me was that's me. You know, you look at things through the eyes of a child, the whimsy, the magic, the joy, not being so hard and learning how to laugh. And that's God. It was intense love that is just indescribable. Think of just the love of your children, of your family, of your friends, just animals all balled up into one. And it's just so intense. And I remember how light I was. And it wasn't that I was light because I had a body, or I didn't have a body anymore. It was no more guilt, shame, worry, fear, anxiety. None of those lower vibrational feelings were there at all. It was as if the veil was totally lifted and you could breathe. And a lot of people say when they pass, that's living. And it is. I felt more alive there than here. It's the strangest way, but it's only the way that I can convey it. But it was, and I remember just swirling around, just reveling in that moment of, I remember this. I knew. It's like coming home, and you know who God is, you know who your guides are, you know all of it. And it was the conversation of what a great job that I did. And it's not that I was perfect in any way. It's the experience, everything I've done, all the trips, falls, mess ups, all of that. And then all the good, it's everything all together. It's learning, it's experiencing, it's feeling. And then I was able to awaken on this journey as well. So God really does celebrate each and every one of us. No matter what you think about yourself, you are celebrated and loved. And one of the most, it was all beautiful, but there was a point when I was speaking with God, and all of a sudden, all of these beams of light came on me. And I remember bringing my awareness down, and I saw you, and God said, look at this beam of light and it will take you right to that person. But I could hear Kristen, Chrissy, Kristen, Chrissy, Chrissy. And some were yelling, some were crying, some were screaming, some were quiet. But I could hear it. And there were just rays of light all over me. And I could just go to a beam and go to that person, because prayers are heard, whether the human body is aware or not. And the other thing is, it was a blink of an eye to die. It did not hurt. There was no pain. Body, mind, spirit. That's a very big thing, because your spirit can be out of your body. Because when my daughter was in the room, when I was intubated, they were working on me and doing different things, and my eyes had opened, and my daughter got all excited, and the nurse said, she's not back. That's not her. She's not back. It's the body's reaction. My daughter has a thing about eyes. She always takes pictures of people's eyes, because when you look at someone's eyes, it's not just blue. There's brown flecks in there. It looks like the galaxy, the nebula, right? And so she knows her mom's eyes, and she said, Mom, when you open your eyes, there was nothing there. You were not there. Those were not your eyes. They were flat. no depth to them. And the other thing too that I want to make sure to point out, I've taught my mom how to connect with her guides and everything as well. So when my parents were on their way to the hospital, and mom had said, please give me a sign that she's okay. My nickname for her, she is my tree and I'm her apple. And when they got to the hospital, the head nurse came up to her and said, my name is Apple. I'm taking care of Kristen. I'm the head nurse. And my mom goes, what? She goes, I know it's a weird name. My name's Apollonia, but my friends call me Apple. And I don't even know if my mom said anything to her about, you have no idea how profound that is. But Spirit hears and they answer prayers. And I'm glad my mom knew in that moment to ask and to receive that. But when I was in spirit and I had all these rays of light on me, to be able to hear everyone and just have total awareness, you can go there in just a moment. And it was a knowing in that time, because the days leading up, and even I'll say about a year, even so leading up, when I would do readings and mediumship would come up, I had a dog that turned and looked at me. I had several people that turned and looked at me when I was channeling them and said, Kristen, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. So I made sure that I kept reiterating that to who I was doing the session for. And now I realize they were telling me, because they know what's happening. They know what's going to happen. And then on October 30th of last year, I woke up to a man's voice saying this whole paragraph, and I don't remember what he said, but I heard his voice clearly. Then a woman spoke and she said, it's happening, it's time. And I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what and to the extent of it. So for all of this to happen, it was like in that moment with God, I totally knew I planned for all of this to happen. And I did have, they always talk about when you have your life review, and it did look like maybe huge screens in front of you, and it's everywhere you look, 360 around you, and you're immersed in it by feeling the emotions. The only way that I could describe it. And with my experience, they were showing me everything that I did that was good, that I made people happy, and it was the laughter and the love. I was able to see my mom, how when I was a baby and handed her a flower, how it made her feel. And that's the way my soul learns. I'm very hard on myself. Kristen's hard on herself. So Spirit knows, God knows, I'm not going to show you something that's going to make you feel bad or something like that. It was this, they wanted me to take back these memories of how it makes other people feel. With love, with just saying something like, oh, your hair looks beautiful today. I love your smile. Thank you for helping me. Or something funny. No matter what it is, it means so much to others. So to be able to remember that feeling is really profound, because you know, okay, when someone smiles and they hug you, you know that emotion is there, but to really be in that person's energy and feel that from their perspective, when it's something that you've done, changed me just from that. And that's like all I want to do now. So after seeing all of that, that's when I went to more of the other side, to like the waiting area. And that's where I saw everybody. It's my family, Jesus, all the ascended masters were there, anybody and everybody I've ever channeled, animals that I've lost, that others have lost, that I've channeled, guides, ancestors. It was just a sea of beings. You could just, as far as the eye could see, you could just see all of these beings all surrounding you. And what was interesting was, I know my family was there, and I don't remember having full conversations with them, But one of the young men that I channeled, he is the son of a friend of mine that passed several years ago at around 18 years of age. He was front and center, and I've channeled him numerous times. And he was right in the front. He had this smirk on his face. One side of his mouth was higher than the other, and he just smiled and embraced me. And it was Jesus that was there as well. And when I decided, after seeing everyone, when I decided, okay, I'm coming back, when I was with Jesus, he put his hand, what felt like my heart, because we have no bodies, but I could feel his energy on mine. And he just says, I am, you are, we are that connection. And it was really profound because Jesus was the first ascended master that I've channeled when I started on my journey. So to be able to have that one-on-one experience, I hope I can convey the love that you feel, that we all have around us and supporting us all the time. But from there, I had the decision of, do I want to stay or do I want to go? So when I had said, oh, her story is not done yet, we're going back. So call it the halls of learning or the Akashic records. It was this great hall, looked like a library. The walls were as tall as you can see, and they were white, pristine, white. The colors on the other side are just alive, vibrant. They're otherworldly. So for those that can see in their mind's eye, when you see the colors swirl, it's just that otherworldly type colors. So I sat at this table, and there was this map and I call it the Marauder's map, like in Harry Potter, because you can move it. And you can look at your timeline and kind of scroll like a touch screen and put things on and take things off. And I remember saying, oh, we're going to make this good. But of course, I don't have the memories of what it is. So it's like, could you give me some hints? So could you give me just a little smidge? But they said, okay, we're going to make it good. And I had my higher self next to me and two beings of light, two guides sitting in front of me. And I was totally running the show. So it's not them saying, this is what you do, this is what you do. It's you that's doing it. You're doing it. You're choosing. So I was going through this timeline and choosing all these different things. And I remember, because I was told when I did eventually wake up, that more memories are going to come to light, and I would wake up and I would remember different things. Well, one of the things that I wound up remembering, I am taking an astrology course, and I was starting it when the NDE happened. So I remember looking, and one of the white walls had a huge, window, a huge picture window. And looking out the picture window were 3 planets. And I remember seeing them, but I didn't think anything of it, because I remember sitting in meditation and remembering that room, because I was trying to see the 2 beings in front of me, because they're beings of light. But I get very nosy because I can see people's guides and my guides. It's like, okay, who are you specifically? So when I was trying to meditate to see who they were, they kept showing me again all the planets that I remember seeing as I was sitting there. And they said, this is important. Well, it turns out that in my chart, I have what's called a trine. So a triangle, and the 3, because I said the 3 planets. And when I was talking with a friend, she goes, you have a trine with those 3 planets in your chart. I don't know astrology. I'm okay with it to figure some things out. I will channel things when I do sessions, but I didn't know that those planets were the trine in my chart. So for me to say it, and she goes, pull up your chart and look at your chart, and I have a trine with those 3 planets. So that's important for my life. And that gives me a cue as to where I'm leading at this next stage. in my life, which I thought was really fascinating. So I'm still discovering and uncovering things and working with my guides and getting more answers. So it's like we have to Nancy Drew all of this, right?
Yeah.
Good, some
So,
good
hey, watch out, a
sleuthing.
new gift coming through.
Yes, exactly. So, but from there, um, after I, had chosen everything, um, that's when I was back, because when you're intubated, they keep asking, Kristen, can you move your toes? Can you blink your eyes? Can you move your fingers? All these different things. And I was non responsive. But when I agreed to come back, I was back. And my husband said, "Oh, you were back," because I was fighting, because you're strapped down, you have a tube. Um, they had to keep telling me what was going on because I had no idea. So I was fighting. They actually had to sedate me more so my husband could sleep and so I could calm down and they could assess my vitals and then go ahead and take all the tubes back. But this was Friday morning, November 3rd, Friday morning. And it was all day on Friday for, again, maybe like 17, 8, 20 out-ish hours. I don't even know. But when I came back that following morning, and I still had the conditioner in my hair, so it was all kinds of crazy. And my mom walked in, and I turned and I looked, and I'm like, "Hi!" And she said, "You had this like Dr. Susie curl sticking out the side of your head." She says, "But the look on your face was the look you had when you were a child." And the reason I'm crying is because there was so much peace, so much joy. I knew I was back. I knew things had happened. I had friends that came and visited me as well, John and Suzanne. And John actually asked me, "Kristen, what did you see?" And to explain, I had something that they call 51st date syndrome because I was so sedated and everything that happened. I had staples in my head because I hit my head and all that kind of stuff. So I couldn't remember more than 30 seconds. They actually put paper on my lap. And every time I said, "What happened? Why am I here?" Look at the page. And I actually looked at it and they said, you fell in the shower and hit your head. And I looked at my husband, "You fell in the shower. Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And he's like, "Who's sitting in the bed? Who's got
Uh-oh.
tubes on them?" So they changed it to you. You fell in the shower. So I could understand it, but I would forget. And then I would have more memory, but it was maybe a minute or so. So they had to constantly ask me, "What's my name? What's my birthday? Who's the president?" All these different things they had to ask just to make sure and they weren't sure what my memory was going to be, although they did the scans and everything looked good. But when John had asked me, "What did you see?" Suzanne's like, when you're trying to find the answer and your eyes are going, you're looking up and you're just searching and searching. She goes, "You would search for everything we would ask you, but as soon as John asked what happened," she's like, "You just talked like you hadn't been talking since you woke up." And I didn't remember everything then. I remembered being with God then. That was the moment I remembered being with God. And other memories awakened as the days progressed, and I had to digest what happened, because even though I do what I do, it's trippy. Like, I'm still dumbfounded by it. And I had an issue and still do, because this again was only several months ago, but I didn't see me. I didn't see me intubated. I didn't see that. I was hazy when I even came out and saw myself. I did see myself turn purple. My husband said, "You turn blue, then you turn purple." But I could see the color, but I couldn't see myself clearly. It was very hazy. So it's a disassociation. So it's like I was gone and I was in this magical place and had all of these experiences, and I was told many things. And I was told that I was going to be out there more and all of these different things. And when I came back, you feel terrible because everyone went through this traumatic experience. And I had this amazing experience. I did have pain coming back into my body. I wound up getting a defibrillator. So, but I was in the hospital for 6 days, 4 at one hospital, and I changed hospitals so my specialist he could perform the defibrillator surgery. But the Apple, the nurse, and the other people that were there, they could not believe it. They came and they stood in front of me. And I don't have memory of this. It's like a faded memory, but I don't know if it's because they were telling me or not. But they stood in front of the bed to say goodbye because they couldn't believe it. When they came back after the weekend, they were like, "Where is the woman that was in this room?" And they said, "Oh, she's over here." They're like, "No way." Because they didn't know which way it was going to go. It did not look like I was going to make it because I was totally unresponsive. So, but to come back and to have, yes, I do have some cognitive things, slight, but nothing major. I still have my heart issues and the arrhythmias and everything, which I understand. I was told about all of that and I understand that, but I was back and there was nothing wrong. Even though I hit my head, I had staples, and to be intubated that long, all of it, I had no other issues from that. So it was a totally
Miraculous.
an amazing, yes. Again, I'm still dumbfounded. And when I talk about it with my husband and daughter and my family, I still trip up about it. It was just recent where my husband said, "You didn't have a pulse for several minutes." He goes, "I don't know how long, because it's not like I was checking my watch as I was, giving you chest compressions." So, but that's
Wow.
my
Very
experience.
profound. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Kristen. Um, Now, I did want to ask you, coming back to your physical body, I know we talked about you were intubated and they had to sedate you a little bit more, but do you remember the physical sensations of getting your soul back in your body?
Nope. No, not at all. I didn't. When I came back in, I was in. And
Mhm.
you want to know what's funny is, you know how we critique ourselves with everything? I was critiquing my NDE. I'm like, I didn't feel myself. I didn't hover above my body and see like other people would see. Because I would watch NDEs and then I got afraid and I stopped watching them because internally I knew, and I had people message me and said, "Kristen, you've talked about this before with
Mhm.
NDEs." And I knew something was happening, but I didn't know what. But when I was in, I was just back in. And, I did ask my guides, why is that? And it took several months because I finally had to remember to ask the question, because ask and it is given. But I finally said, why didn't I see myself or, hover above myself and go back in my body and all these other things? And they said, because you need to know that you're not your body. And that's the way for Kristen to know that's not my body. Like I could hover above it or something, but they're like, you're not your body. It is a vessel.
It is a vessel.
It is a
Yeah.
vessel. So that was a big wow moment for me too, when I channeled the answer to find out as to why I didn't. But isn't that funny? I was my husband's like, "You're critiquing your own NDE, really?
Like you're
Why didn't this and why didn't that?" And certain guides that I would see, and there's one guide in particular that I would always see. She's a galactic being,
Mhm.
and I remember saying to her, "Why didn't I see you on the other side?" And she goes, "Because I'm not dead. I didn't transition." And I went, "Oh my gosh," because she's alive.
Wow.
Galactics, UFOs, all that kind of stuff. We can get into all that, but
That's amazing.
yes.
That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
okay, that's gonna open up another wormhole that we can go through.
Yeah,
We're gonna
rabbit hole.
we'll talk a little bit about it. So, the galactics.
Yes.
Obviously, as you mentioned, you have connections with the communications with the galactics.
Mhm.
Which ones do you communicate with?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. So when I started this journey, when I would wake up at night, the only way I can describe it is they look holographic to me.
Mhm.
Um, I've seen short grays, tall grays, mantis beings, Pleiadians, Andromedans, uh, butterfly people, you name it, they're there. And they'll stand around the bed usually. One of the most profound is when the short gray was standing by my bed. And I do this thing where I open my eyes because I could see them with my physical eyes. Sometimes it's in my mind's eye, but with my physical eyes, and I'll look at them. And what I do is I look away and I blink, kind of like I'm not, because you want to be, you're grounded, right? And I don't just see things. So this being was very much there. And the way that he was moving, this short gray, it's like his head was going back and forth, and he was helping one of the other beings with whatever they were doing. Because sometimes I can see tools or something that they're using, and then they go back up and like disintegrate into the ceiling or something. It's weird, but I communicate because I can. One of the first gifts that I realized that I had was when I connect with people, I can usually see who their guides are, who they pray to, the guides that come forward, who's going to be coming forward to them as you raise your vibration, just different things. So that's why I was so fascinated while I was having my death experience to know who those lighted beings were in front of me. But archangels, angels, my higher self is a seraphim, and a lot of these beings, I mean, it's not like I had any idea that they existed. Who is a Pleiadian? And Andromedan, the blue beings, there are beings that I saw that were red. And you can't Google a lot of this because, and they had said to me, you're channeling beings now, you're channeling us now, that's something that you can't just look online for. And that's where you said you need to go within and you need to start trusting yourself, which is something Kristen really needed to learn how to do.
I think we all do to a certain point.
Yes.
We can do a little bit more trusting ourselves. Most
Yes,
of us, myself
especially
included.
in panic mode,
Yeah,
right? You get nervous,
exactly.
freak out, you need answers, and you look outside of yourself, and then it's that moment of, oh, I can do this. And then it's sitting in that moment and asking the questions.
Yeah.
So
So I wanted to ask you, now that we are in the topic of the galactics and divine beings and all that. So for people that are new to spirituality, they're going through an awakening process, that they are, receiving that, maybe not necessarily the communication, but they're sensing a being there. How can they trust that being? What boundaries should they have? And how could they know if this is a being that's there for their highest good of all?
yes, we can feel it. And what I always say is, call on Archangel Michael. He is the most well known for divine protection. There's also the archangels of divine protection, which are 6 archangels that form what's called a Merkaba, a triangle up and a triangle down that's around you. But calling them forward, and it's really funny because I had mentioned that bullying followed me in through parts of my life in my earlier years, and it was someone very close to me, then it was like a teacher, and then it was a boss, and I had to learn, when you have repeating patterns in life, that's what you're meant to heal. So that's one of the clues. It will come up in different ways, and then it comes up in layers, and it's like, oh, I thought I dealt with this already, and it's another layer of bullying that you have to go through. But I'm at peace with it now, and I dive right into it. But again, with doing that, I've learned that we can't be touched without our permission. Nothing has the permission. So since 2016, I've only had 4 instances with a low vibrational being. One that was standing in the corner of my room, and a lot of people tend to have an experience with the men in black. They usually wear hats. The men in black, they're the ones that know that you're online, so to speak. You've awakened. And I remember sitting and reading in the bedroom because my husband and daughter were watching. What were they watching? Like Silence of the Lambs and stuff that I do not watch. So they were out there. I was in the room reading. And I remember feeling someone's in the room. A lot of us are empaths. You're feelers. You can sense there's eyes on me, and you might get the chills. That's normally the tell because they're closer to you. And it's feeling into it. Who are you? asking the question. And I said, "Hi, who are you?" And I didn't like the energy I felt. And I said, "You are not welcome here. And I send you. You need to leave." And he didn't leave. So I called on Archangel Michael, because that's who I knew at the time. Now I call upon the archangels of sacred protection, and I send unconditional love, because you cannot stay here. But when it's the knowing that you are divinely protected and that nothing can touch you without your permission. So if you have fear there and everything, always call in protection all the time. It's important, especially if you're going to start, you know, channeling and meditating and all of these different beings that you want to connect with and have come in, because some of them can disguise themselves. You know, you can't have the dark without the light and vice versa, but it's your awareness of it. You can't be touched. It's something that I don't fear, because I know how to remedy it, and I know that I'm very protected, and they really don't want to bother with you. They really don't. They want to go after the ones that, you know, have that fear and all of that. But just know you can call on protection. No one has the right to be there without your permission. So it's important. And then sensing, like I said, you can feel. Some might see in their mind's eye like a quick flash. And a lot of people that might be, when I first started this journey, it's my opinion, because it's my experience, that when you first awaken, you go through the mediumship stage. So at night, or when you meditate, you might see flashes of faces, because those are the people that you met, the energies you met that have passed during the day, that have been around you, which is really cool. So it's just, this spiritual realm is so amazing. And like you said, there's so many different rabbit holes and wormholes that you can go down. And but just know always that you're divinely protected. Always, always.
That is 100% true. And something that at least worked for me back in 2012 when I was going through my experience, because again, and I've said it in different conversations before, but back then, the information about near death experience, spiritual awakenings, or any of this, you know, so common now in the spiritual community, it was not so easy to find. So I felt that I was alone. And yes, I thought I was going crazy too. But one of the things that helped me is be aware of what I consumed, not just, you know, in my body, but also like what I watch on TV, the music that I listen to, the books that I read. I believe that all that, like, it's very, you're inviting it pretty much. And that's
Yes.
something that I tell my kids, nothing can hurt you. You
Yeah.
have to believe that. Only things that can hurt you is if you allow them to come in, if you invite
Right.
them. I also recommend people to be mindful of when they're going through
Mhm.
this, because we're very vulnerable at this stage. And I'm speaking from my experience. I didn't even know how to approach my guide, even though my guide was literally right there, like this, waiting for me to talk. And I was like, no, no, not yet, not yet. So it took me a long time because I was afraid. I didn't have any. But
Yes.
what? Yeah. So do you want to expand on that a little bit?
I love that you said that, because that's huge. So I don't watch the news. I am in Florida, so especially during hurricane season, I want to make sure that I don't need to be aware of anything. So I have it on to watch, because I'm a big weather watcher. I love to garden, so it's like, please give me rain today for my plants. But um anything and everything. You can even picture archangels or mirrors around you. And this is a practice you can do first thing in the morning when you bring forward gratitude, just thanking for the day and looking forward to the day. You can call forward the archangels or have them put mirrors. So they're like your spiritual bouncers, and they can stand around you facing out, or mirrors that are facing out. So anything bounces off of it as well. So and we have our own healing abilities too. So seeing yourself, like Mickey Mouse and Fantasia, how he had the water crashing, you can have like, just picture this energy or water crashing around you in a circle, and just ask, you know, that element and your guides at the highest to fully surround you and protect your energy throughout the day. It's so important. And also, the biggest thing for me, as well as that, because I was very naive and very excited, you're the driver of the car, not the passenger. So I would actually say, okay, I want to see everything, but just not at night, because that freaks me out. So I gave them, I said from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I gave them a time, and they only showed themselves there. And then I started to see at night, and I'm like, well, this is cool, because I could see, it looks almost fiber optic, the way that
Mhm.
I can see it, the holographic look, and I can see in my mind's eye a lot better. So I'm like, okay, I like all of it. So my husband teases me. He's like, seeing a spirit at night's totally fine, but spiders still freak you out. So picture it as a dial, like the seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. All of our human senses, as above, so below, as within, so without, is also is a spirit psychic sense. So hear, see, feel, know, taste, and smell are all psychic senses. So
Indeed.
trusting that if you don't like something, turn it off and be aware, because when we're around other people, check in with yourself, because I noticed when I was around other people, I'm not feeling good. Why am I not feeling good? This isn't my normal stuff, because you're taking on from other people. You're taking on their moods. Are you cranky and you weren't before? Who are you around? So just know that you're not a puppet on the string. You have your bubble that's around you. When you walk in the room, it's like you're assessing the room, because you know how you can feel an argument and all of that. Just you're not imposing or impeding on anybody's juju in any way, but you're just pulsating out love and joy, and watch how that changes the way the room feels and how other people respond. Some people might not like it because, empaths can mirror them in a sense, but it can really uplift and change the room as well. That was my big thing, because when I first started to do readings, my husband was about to go to work, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my stomach. And I was on the floor, doubled over in pain. Like, what's wrong with me? My husband's like, I don't want to leave you. And he looked at me and he goes, Kristen, is this yours? And I looked at him and I'm like, oh. So I said in my head, is this mine? And it stopped, and I stood up. I'm like, nope, wasn't mine. And my husband, who's not awakened but spiritually aware, was the one that said,
Wow.
yes. So he was the one that had to say, is this yours? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I ask for impressions of, health stuff, or if someone passed, what did they pass of? But don't make me sick. So you have to state everything. You have to have a voice. You have to use that voice and that throat chakra, that expression, and let your guides know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to try, what is, in perfect comfort and alignment for you.
That's
Always.
So I take it that stomach pain was from the person, the spirit that was going to come through?
It was actually for the person. The person had IBS stomach issues that were really severe, and I felt it.
Wow.
And I was just doubled over in pain. And I'm telling you, it's like you're making it up, because as soon as my husband said, Kristen, is that yours? And I said in my head, Spirit, is it mine? If it's not, take it away. And it went away. And I'm like, oh my God. And I stood up. I'm like, is that not the weirdest? Like it's still always I always will find it magical. I don't care how long I've been doing this, right? It's magical what we can do. And that's why, to anyone who resonates, that I can bring these messages to, it's like, you're not crazy. I've had, because I remember telling my guides, I wasn't a psychic kid, because I've watched all these things on, TV, and they talk about these psychic children, and the guides are like, but you were. And they put memories in my head of things that have happened. And my mom said, you spoke in tongues when you were little. I was like, wait, what? Why didn't I hear about it? And they put all these things. I knew when my grandma died, she visited me when she passed. And that morning, I could see everybody downstairs, and everyone was downstairs. And I'm like, Grandma. So it wasn't all the time, but I always felt like there were eyes on me too. And when I awakened, I realized they were my guides. And I was afraid of them, because you fear what you don't know and what you can't see. But it was them. I am 45 now. I was 44 at the time of my NDE, but in my early 30s, before I awakened, I was afraid of the dark. Lights were always on, TV was on, because I needed the chatter I didn't want to hear. And because I could hear my name whispered or something like that as well, which I forgot about. And my guides said, remember, you had this stuff. But that's why I was afraid of the dark. Now I see better with my third eye in the dark. And I look at it through the eyes of, I'm divinely protected, and I love this stuff. So I want to see it. I want to, like all this different stuff. So it's so empowering now that I can sit home alone in the room, in the dark, by myself, and my daughter will come in, and I get scared because I was on the floor in the front room in the dark, and she's like, "Why wouldn't my mom be doing that?"
That's totally normal.
She is totally normal. So, but it's empowering because it was a
Mhm,
fear that I had, was in the dark, not being able to
mhm,
see, but I can feel and I know. So I can sense, because sometimes, like I said, you may not see a being, but you can feel that they're there.
mhm. Exactly.
So, but again, you can turn on and off whatever makes you comfortable. And you can have a conversation with your guides. You don't have to know who they are. You just say, guides, universe, God, angels, whoever. Can you please turn that down? That scares me. I don't want to see that. Just like I did between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., these eyeballs are open and you can show me things. They even showed me, my husband and I were going to Walmart and we were pulling into a parking spot. And I remember watching a family. It was a man, woman, a younger girl, and then there was a little toddler. He had blonde, short hair, and he was holding a truck. And he was walking behind them. And I'm like, why is this little boy walking behind them? They're in a parking lot, and they were holding the little girl's hand. They were all full bodied. As soon as my husband pulled up, I'm like, where's the boy? Where's the boy? My husband stopped short and he's like, Kristen, there was only 3 of them. There's a little girl. No, there was a full bodied apparition of a boy behind them. So I said to Spirit, do not show me spirit like that again. I need to know that they're spirit. So you need to show me them hazy. And that was the rule ever since then, because I didn't know if they were alive or not. And as soon as you state it, they listen.
Yes, yes, that is, and I can attest to that myself. One of the strict rules that I've had with my guides is no one is allowed to wake us up because I need my beauty sleep. I am like a toddler. If I can't sleep, everything bothers me. So I'm like, I
Mhm.
need to sleep. Nothing is allowed to wake us up in the middle of the night unless it is for the highest good of all. Like nothing. So because that used to happen to me too. Like actually, I can remember one of my friends. She is in spirit now. But she was not really a friend. She was like a person that I knew.
Mhm.
And I knew that when she passed, she left suddenly, and I knew there were things that were left unsaid. So
Mhm.
I was like, "Hey, you know that I can hear you. You can come talk to me." Da 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 da. And lo and behold, you know that when you say to a spirit, "I'm gonna help you," they
Yeah.
backing out, no back. Like you said it, you got to hold the end of the bargain. And then as things were coming out surrounding her death, I started not feeling very comfortable. And again, angels, their vibration is here. Spirit guides, their vibration is here. Someone that leaves suddenly, their vibration may be down here.
Mhm.
So I was used to feeling my guides and my angels, and there she was. And then her energy was scaring me. And I was like, I was turning to my guide and I'm like, what did you let her in? What did you do this? Kick her out. And he was like, well, you invited her. I can't do anything. And then she had literally like a key to my house pretty much every time when the house was quiet, morning, night, and whenever it was. Like
Wow.
she was there and we can hear the stomps on the stairs and then the kids being woken up. And then I
Oh,
knew somebody was watching me. But my guide guided me through on how to help her move on.
mhm.
But yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way, but I did. So people learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, and I feel like that's when I had, like, I talked about 4 times that I've had low vibrational things happen. I have had instances where I would channel. So there are earthbound spirits, as you know. So she didn't
Mhm.
cross over with God then. So she was
Right, right.
earthbound, right?
Mhm.
So I don't want them coming forward. So I said, you can call me in the astral and I will certainly help you. Because I've had some people whisper in my ear and I'll, help cross them over. And I would fall asleep and then feel bad. And the guides are like, you needed to be in the astral in order to assist. So I only ask for those that have crossed with God to come forward for me to channel. Because I've had some people say, I can't get a hold of my brother. And my guides went like this, which means keep him at arm's length. He's not crossed over. So I did my best to cross him over and, that kind of thing. But the interesting thing that happened is when my father-in-law died years ago, he was not a very nice man. My mother-in-law is absolute angel. I love her. My father-in-law, he's quirky. He's quirky, and he had his moments. But when he passed, he did not go to God right away. I can't travel, so my husband went to my mother-in-law, which is several hours away. So he went there. Our daughter was sleeping in her room, so she wasn't in the room with me. And the day he passed, that night, the covers blew out from under the sheets. And I'm like, no one else is here to see any of this. And I grabbed the covers and I pulled them over my head. And I sat there. I'm like, wait a minute. I kind of do this stuff. So I put it down and I'm like, is that you? His name is Ray, just like my husband. We called him Big Ray. I'm like, Big Ray, is that you? And I knew it was him. And I said, you can't do that. So I tried crossing him over. And what I said was, I call my guides of the highest good to come over. I call Archangel Michael and I send you to unconditional love. If you're not going to cross over, you cannot stay here. And he was gone. 1 month later, he came back and he did wake me up. They will wake me up in the middle of the night. I kind of like it. As long as it's not all the time. I'm sure if it was all the time, I'd be like, no, girl needs to sleep. But he woke me up in the middle of the night and he sounded like he was over an old-fashioned radio station. And I heard him like, you're talking to me. And he said, I am so very sorry. And then there went all of the messages. And I said, how did you cross over? And he has a daughter, my husband's stepsister had passed many years ago. When we were in high school, I never got a chance to meet her. She found him and crossed him over. So she was the one that found him and crossed him over, which I thought was fascinating. But I love talking to other people that are open and have had experiences, because there's just so many different things that happen. And then it's an awareness of, okay, here's another practice I can put into place, or, something like that. But the other thing I do too that I feel the need to mention is I have these, they're Pleiadians, which are galactic beings. There are 3 of them. Now I know there are many of them, but they started off with 3. And the interesting thing is they like to stand, like one in my doorway right here, one in the hallway, and then one leading to the front of the house. I didn't say anything to my daughter. This was several years ago. And she said to me, Mom, there's something in the hallway. And I said, that's a being. And I explained it to her. They're these beings to help the energy of the house and protect. So they do whatever they need to do to cleanse and clear. And I always talk with them and cleanse and clear the house and anyone that comes in the house, if someone's working on the house, something like that. So when I had my NDE experience, they had to come through this room. There's actually a dent by my door from when they brought the bed or whatever it's called in. And when I came home, the energy still felt really good. I wasn't afraid of my bedroom. I wasn't afraid of my shower. So that's how you know that when you're talking to these guides and, I could see them, I can feel them. I know they'll tell me things, but they're doing their job. They're working on the energy. So I still saged and everything else just because I wanted to do all of that and, refresh everything. But the house just felt loving and warm and good to me. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't afraid when I was in the bathroom or anything like that, or in the shower. And it was just that comfortable feeling. So you can call upon your guides, your energy guides, to protect your home and your space as well.
That's beautiful.
So in your car, wherever you are, around you, all of it. There's no limit. Yes, exactly. Don't hit my car with that cart.
Exactly. So I wanted to ask you, now that we're in the topic of the angels and guides, we've been in it for a while, but I noticed in a different interview, you were talking about the seraphim angels. Can you tell us a little bit about them, who they are, and what is their role in humanity's ascension right now?
Absolutely. So I met the seraphim. Okay, this is trippy. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit because my higher self is a seraphim angel. So I was in one of my mentors, I was in her group channeling class, and we were channeling for someone that came in, and my neck the amount of energy that pulsate through the meridian of my body was so intense, I couldn't move my head. I could feel it right in my neck. And I said, there's this angel that's with you. It's a high angel. And I didn't know the word of them. And she channels the seraphim angels. It's her higher self. So I had all of these experiences. I wound up booking a session with the person I did the reading for, because I felt such a connection and never felt that before. I had several experiences where there were feathers, like cardinal feathers, popping up everywhere on my windshield in a spider web. And my husband's like, is that a cardinal feather in a spider web in the back of the garden? Just weird things that we would never see. And I was shown certain images in my mind's eye, and then I stumbled upon her page when I went to book the session, and those were the angel wings I saw in my mind. So when I was asleep one night, I was woken up because I had popping in my back, and it was angel wings. There's, like Harry Potter, I'm going to reference Harry Potter again. When you see the snitch and the snitch's wings open up, it was like, boom. Well, I already had my angel wings, which is between the shoulder blades. That has been open, but I had 3 more pop down my back. So 4 sets of wings. So I said, okay, if I'm linked with the seraphim somehow, can you please show me? And they gave me several synchronicities that were mind blowing. I actually went outside, took the dogs out. When I came in, my daughter had on Sister Act on the TV, and they were singing Sweet Seraphim in the second that I walked in the door. I kid you not. And when I was laying in bed, I saw a dragon walking around in front of me with my physical eyes. There was a dragon. And I saw a white salamander outside. And I'm like you in Florida. I'll see salamanders, but they're all dark, not white. So I was told, you're a seraphim angel. They are white dragons with 4 sets of wings that reside with God. They are pearl essence, so they reflect all of the different frequencies and colors. They are creator beings. And it's funny because whenever they would come forward, I would say, the seraph I am, the seraph I am. So, and then I had a session with this person, and she goes, do you know who your higher self is? You never want to give information. You always want to get and receive when you're having a session with someone. They need to be able to validate. So don't spill your guts. Let them tell you. So I said, could you tell me? And, she said that she was shaking and everything too. And she goes, oh my gosh, you're a seraphim as well. So she told me what I already knew,
Wow.
what I felt. There was totally more with that as well. But just like here, there are so many different types of beings, and we all perceive them just like we can all see Jesus in different ways and perceive God in different ways. So the seraphim are these white dragons, but that's why they showed me the salamander, because they're white. I saw the dragon because they're dragons. I had the popping up my back because they have 4 sets of wings, and they are creator beings. They help to create worlds. And I was told that I came here with my seraphim heart, and that's why I've had 4 heart surgeries, 5 including the defibrillator. And what they do in the surgery is they go in, they wake me up, they pump me full of stuff, they find the spot that's freaking out, and they burn it or ablate it. And then, ta-da, it's supposed to be gone. I've tried all the medications. I can't take meds anymore because they're too potent and can have adverse effects to my organs. So this cardiac specialist that I've had now for several years that I absolutely love, and he's phenomenal, I said, okay, I want you to do a surgery. So last year, in June or July of 2023, I had my last heart surgery. And then in November, I had the NDE. So my higher self, her name is Azra, the seraphim, and she had said, there's a reason that they go in and they ablate and it moves, because there's nothing wrong with your heart. You brought your seraphim heart here. Your heart doesn't beat for this realm. So it seems like something is wrong. So
Wow.
when I had my last surgery, um, he was very excited. He's like, I got it. I got it. And this is what typically happens. I get numb. I can't feel anything. And, you know, being an empath, you can feel your body, your heartbeat. I was numb. So it takes me about a week to see what my heart's going to do. So when he came out and he told my family, I got it, you know, I was in there for hours and he really ablated everything. And so a few days later, I started with episodes. And then when I had a follow-up visit with him, I had a really bad episode. And he walked in and he was white as a ghost. And he goes, Kristen, it's back. He goes, you know, this is not what happens. This is not what happens. You ablate it and it's gone. It moves. And I was told this before I had the surgery, but I was told to do the surgery. So when I asked what was the point of that, and they're like, because it's to the benefit of the doctor and the nurses and those that were around you for you to do this. So even though I didn't have a healing from it, it helped them in some way in learning how to, you know, maybe look at other things or something like that. So that's my experience. And my higher self, very connected. She'll tell me different things. Very intense energy, very loving energy. I'll do light language from the seraphim, but it's always, when it's with your higher self, it's what am I meant to do? What are my next steps? Different things is when I'll bring her in as well. And I'll know when I'm doing certain things like healings to bring in the seraphim as well to be able to assist. So they are, that was one of those things like when I discovered we have a higher self. Wait, what's that? Who's that? It totally flipped my world around. That was the seraphim. I didn't know, I've heard the word seraphim before, but I didn't know who they were, what they were. Some people see them as all of these wings and just eyes. Mm-hmm. Typically when I see my higher self, I've always seen eyes when I meditate, and it turned out that it was her eye. That's beautiful. The dragon's eye. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that the energy of the dragons, the seraphim, they create new worlds. Yes. So we are I guess in the spiritual community, we say that we are going on the new earth.
Yes.
And lately, recently, I've been hearing other people talking about the energy of the dragon coming to Earth soon. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. I love all of these questions. This is like woo-woo is right up my alley. Yes. So the seraphim angels, like I said, are creator beings, creating different paths in life, but creating worlds and realms as well. So there are many different types of dragons. There's also elemental dragons and crystalline dragons. So this is a lot of times where the dragons have been very prominent and coming back and showing up for people. So maybe not specifically the seraphim. Yes, you can have a seraphim angel, all of that, but also these elemental dragons, because these were beings that resided with us thousands of years ago, and they went into another realm, and now they're really coming back to be able to help us, to guide us, to assist our energy, our journey. So you can ask to be able to meet your dragon guide. I have someone that I did a Reiki attunement for a few days ago, and they have this beautiful red dragon that came forward that I could see in my mind's eye. And I didn't know that about her, that she had a dragon that was, and she's a friend of mine. So I didn't know that she had this dragon. So you can ask, or if you feel drawn to dragons, are you drawn to the water? Maybe you have a water dragon. You love the earth and nature and being outside. Maybe you have this earth dragon as well. You love to work with crystals. I mean, you can work with all of them, but they are energies that are coming back that are really profound to be able to help us and guide us, to assist our energy, to protect our energy. And they are very much about the earth and your body as a temple. honoring yourself, learning how to go within. There's so much wisdom in these dragons as well. So just like you would connect with, you know how humans we have different jobs, we have different knacks and things that we're good at. It's the same in the spirit realm. So, I can speak with Yeshua or Jesus about certain things, and he'll help me about love and the oneness. But certain dragons, like my earth dragon, will be able to assist me and be more of my guardian, protecting my energy, helping me to work with the elementals when I'm outside. And then other dragons being able, like the water dragon, to be able to help me more with my emotions. I've been working with that dragon a lot lately. So working with my emotions, through my emotions, helping me to process things. How do I do this? But these energies are coming back. So a lot more people, I love that you asked that, because a lot more people I've noticed are very connected to the dragons and are seeing them more and more.
You mentioned the red dragon.
Mhm.
Some of us coming from that religious background could interpret seeing a red dragon as something very bad, with
Mm.
the word HELL attached to it. So so how can we overcome the fear of, oh my goodness, I saw a red one or I saw a black one? That could be something very bad too.
Yes. And trust me, I know that. Remember, colors are a frequency, even black. Black isn't a bad color. If you see, because a lot of people are like, I saw this shadow in the corner of my eye. That's how we start seeing what mediumship is, our peripheral vision. So you'll see shadows. So a lot of times I might see a shadow walk by. So when I saw the Egyptian god Thoth, and he walked in my front room, he was a big, huge shadow that blocked out the light and walked past. And I knew who it was, but I still was like, okay, who was that? Because you're second guessing yourself, because we do that.
Of
But
course.
yes, exactly. But I actually saw several times these really huge black angels. They have huge wings like archangels, and they drag on the floor. And I was told, talk to this person they know. So I messaged this friend, and she goes, oh my gosh, Kristen, I had an experience with the black angels. They are warrior angels that help to protect, that work with, in conjunction with Archangel Michael. But because we put these things on them, right, wrong, good, bad, white is in the light and good, and dark is bad and negative. Like you said, with the red, I had seen red beings. Okay, is this the devil that I saw with this red face? No, he's a different race from a certain galaxy and connection. So again, use your own discernment. There is light and dark in everything. There are good Pleiadians and bad Pleiadians. There really are, just like people. So use your own discernment. Usually when you're feeling into, when one shows up, it's a loving feeling. It's a calm feeling. Yes, they can disguise themselves as things. I have not had that experience, but I know people who have. But again, always calling in your guides and stating that nothing low vibrational can get to you or through you. It's not allowed. And knowing that that is so. And when you have the experience and you see, say, this red dragon, I call upon Archangel Michael. I call upon the archangels of sacred protection to please come forward. And it is as simple as putting your hands over your heart, because that brings your attention and intention to your heart space to get out of the head. Because your head's going to say, that's bad because of whatever upbringing, all that kind of stuff. Dropping to the heart space and saying, okay, I ask about this red dragon that I saw or that I'm seeing, and you'll get more information there. Trust yourself.
That's beautiful.
Trust yourself. Truly. I mean, I've had a lot of experiences. Not all guides are cute and gorgeous and stunning beings of light. They look weird. I've seen myself in alternate lifetimes and I looked weird. And it doesn't mean I was bad. It was just I had this certain appearance. And it's same with guides. I mean, a lot of the tall grays, the grays get a bad rap, but there's one tall gray, super tall, really long arms. I could see like the bubbles at the end of his fingertips. And he has like, kind of looks like he has a frown because he's older and he has these wrinkles that are right here. But he's sweet and kind. So just because his appearance looks like he's not very thrilled doesn't mean that that's his energy. That's just his appearance. So again, I had to feel into myself and trust what I was feeling and what I knew. And if something doesn't feel right and you don't know, you can say, okay, I ask you to step back.
Mm-hmm.
I ask you to step back and I ask for more information before you're allowed to come back again. And that's okay. They understand that. They want to make sure you feel safe and that they're proud of you for doing that because you are in your sovereignty and your power and learning. You don't just invite something in not knowing what it is.
So I remember, I like to use, my own experiences to talk
Yes.
to people. But I remember one time a couple of years ago, I was meditating and I wanted to hear the voice of my spirit guide. I was waiting to hear his voice, and then he came through my right ear. But I don't know if it was the word that he said or what it was, but it scared the daylights out of me. And I was like, okay, well, no, I don't want to work with you. Go back. I don't want to work with you anymore. Thank you for coming. But the next spirit guide, that's the highest one that's available to me, I want to work with that one, not you. And
Yes.
I never heard that particular voice ever again.
I love that. That was that's so brilliant of you too, because if it doesn't feel right, trust your gut. I don't care if it looks like Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, because spirit guides will never be harsh with you, look down on you, yell at you, nothing like that. They uplift you. They're always coming from a place of love to be able to be of service and to guide and assist you. They might be adamant about things, like they'll say to me, tell your mom about this. This is important. And it's still up to me if I do or not. If I don't and I forget, they'll come back and say, remember, if you can ask her about this, that would be great. That kind of thing. They'll do that. But trust yourself. It's so important on your journey. I think that's the biggest thing, because like the trend for, I think, this call is going within and trusting yourself, because that was something that I found that Kristen really found hard to do, because I always believed in what everybody else was saying. So I guess they must be right. So let's do what they're telling me to do. But I've had people say, because I have a being that came forward, and I opened my eyes in the middle of the night, and this huge, tall being that was cloaked, it swirling smoke of a face, and it was like sucking smoke from me. And I asked somebody else what it had meant, and I wanted to hear their thoughts on it. And this person said, anything with smoke isn't good. And I'm like, oh, but this being felt really good. So I sat in meditation and I asked my guides. I didn't bring the being forward, but I asked my guides, and they were telling me that this being was pulling impurities from me. So it was helping to pull impurities from me. And there was a practice that I was doing prior to bed to be able to assist my energy. And it was like, I asked that because if you can write things down, it could be really helpful, because we can't remember everything. So I fortunately wrote things down where I was able to remember, oh my gosh, I had asked for help, and this being was helping to come and pull impurities, because I was about to get an attunement. So pulling impurities from me. So I wound up talking to another mentor, and this mentor told me exactly what my guides told me, and said, this being was pulling impurities from you. So again, I didn't bring that being back because I wasn't sure yet. But now I feel the being, and I don't see him because he doesn't want to scare me. But I keep saying, I wasn't afraid of you. I was just second guessing.
Right.
So, but yep, whatever makes you comfortable.
Whatever makes you comfortable. That's true. And Kristen, that's another rabbit hole that we can go into pretty easy.
Oh, yes, exactly.
This conversation can last for hours, because
I
we're all
know.
about the same things. But due to time, I do have to switch gears a little bit. Now, going back to your near-death experience, I wanted to ask you, you were doing spiritual work before your near-death experience. So how did your NDE change or impact your spiritual work?
So it's really fascinating because so I have other friends in the spiritual community, right? So after I had my NDE, I was riding the wave of happiness, joy, and bliss for a good couple of months. I had my moments where I needed to feel what had happened. I had my arm in a sling because I couldn't move my arm because of the defibrillator. So I would have my own moments. But the amazingness was, remember I mentioned I saw a young man with the smile and we embraced. My guide said to me, my intuition was totally off the charts. Like they would tell me different things. I would know when someone was calling because I was very trusting of myself. That's the biggest thing since my NDE was trust yourself. It's your first instinct that comes through, and not when you're second guessing, that's your ego. So I honored what my guides were saying, and I messaged my friend and I said, I saw your son, and I told her what happened. She goes, Kristen, I cannot tell you. She said, we were doing a group prayer for you when you were sedated. And she said, my son came to me and said he hugged you. So we validated one another. I had another friend that told me, I saw you, but you looked like the sun. So I explained, because I didn't talk about any of it yet. So I told her about the prayers and how the lights came on me. And one of my mentors, when I was talking with her, she goes, I saw you dancing and like your energy was swirling. And I said, that's when I first left my body. Wow. I felt like I was dancing and swirling because I was just so free of those low vibe emotions. So since my NDE, now I'm going to start crying. I've really come into my own more. And it's really been a gift because I would always second guess myself. It's not that I don't anymore. It's just that I remember and I'm in the present moment to be able to say, no, okay, let's course correct. You're good, Kristen. We got this. We got this. It's really trusting myself more. So my gifts have been able to open a lot more because I let them. So, and even with life, enjoying life, not taking things too hot and heavy. I've always enjoyed, especially since my awakening in 2016, I've learned to be more in gratitude because I can get so sick and I can be sick for a short amount of time, for half the day, the whole day. You can never tell. So I have such gratitude when I'm able to be in that moment and I can breathe good and I don't have pain and I don't feel sick to my stomach and I can enjoy a meal. So it's all this gratitude. And this NDE just took it to that next level of gratitude. I'm still here. I get to see my daughter graduate college in all these different things. So if there were, I can't even find words for this. I'm just grateful to be able to put messages out there to help others hopefully love themselves more, which looks very messy, right? To love ourselves. But I've learned to love myself because I remember saying to myself, when they said, do you want to come back? And I had that choice and God said, do you want to stay or do you want to go? I remember bringing my awareness to Kristen and I couldn't see myself, but I could feel her. And it was, I love her. I love everyone around her in her life. And this story isn't done yet. It's time to go back. So I knew coming back, I was hard on myself. So it's like little things. It's like, don't let me screw this up. And I would say all these different things because you worry about that. But the guides are like, you are right where you need to be always. And if it feels off or awkward or lower vibrational, what's the lesson in it? And I've learned to course correct and be like, what's the lesson in this? So I teach this stuff because I truly 1000% believe in it. It's never something I ever thought I would do, is teach and do sessions. But it's helped me so much in my life, and especially after this NDE happened, that I just want to help others live their best life and learn how to course correct and learn how to silence this, not silence it, integrate it. integrate the ego. It's about working with the ego and have that heart-brain coherence, right? And we can always course correct. Bottom line is we're humans. We're here to experience all these different things in life and emotions, but to be able to navigate with spirit and to be able to course correct and navigate all of that has been a game changer for me. And it's been very heightened since November.
That's beautiful. I'm happy to hear that you have been able to integrate it so well. Definitely different than other near-death experiences that I've listened to in the past and recently too. Now, so you had your near-death experience. You had an injury in the head, and you were basically non-responsive for 20 hours, I believe. So members of the audience may have a family member, a loved one, somebody they're close to going through that particular situation. They lay on a hospital bed and they don't know if they're going to make it through the end of the night. What can you tell them?
Know that they're not in pain, but also that you can speak to them and that you're heard. Because I heard all of these prayers. Every single one of them I heard. Knowing that you can ask for signs like my mom did. Can you give me a sign? But coming from a place of, when you ask for a sign and you're in this panic state, so you're fearing it, so you're searching for it, that's when you don't want to ask for a sign because you're blocking yourself. But if you're just give me a sign and just let it fall in your lap. Just be in the moment, say the prayers, say, just, can you give me a sign? Can you just give me a sign that you're going to be okay? Can you give me a sign that you hear me? And letting it go. But just know that, remember body, mind, spirit. When there was this dog that came forward, and this baby was hit by a car. And this dog said, please tell my mom that I was out. God took me out so I didn't feel that pain. So you might see, like my eyes open, the body's going to react and do things because the body is going to feel pain, but that spirit is not, that soul is out. So please understand that. And when you look at the eyes and they look weird, it's because that's not them. You can tell by the eyes, look at the eyes. But there is so much divinely orchestrated energies at work. And we choose. Sometimes we can choose several outs. We choose how we come in, who we come into, our parents, our family, our traumas, and we choose when we leave and how we leave. We also choose, do you need people there or not? Because people will say, I stepped out of the room for a second. I was there the entire day. In the 2 minutes I was gone, you passed, because they couldn't pass with you there. Please know you didn't miss anything. They needed you to leave in order to pass. My great Aunt Lillian, she was 100 years old when she passed, and she was always afraid to be alone. And she waited for both my parents to get there and be on either side of her, and she passed.
Wow.
So it is divinely orchestrated. It happens exactly how we ask it to happen so that we can pass. Because sometimes having someone there, you have such an attachment, or sometimes you need that person there, like my great Aunt Lillian did. And she needed my parents to be there because she was too afraid on her own. And her human body needed them to be there because it's what the human body needs and the spirit, the soul, right? So please trust that if you sit and be present, which means just sit and staring. Like I'm looking outside right now and it is absolutely pouring here and we haven't had rain, it seems like, in several days on this side of Florida. But as I'm sitting and I'm just looking at the rain, I'm present in the moment. You're present with the breath. That's why they always say to go to the breath, because it's happening now. When you're present in the moment, you're able to have an awareness. Can I feel you? Know that I love you and they hear you. You might feel that connection. A lot of times people will say that they feel like they're still there and they're watching, because I know a lot of people will hover and watch and see what's going on and be able to tell details if they choose to wake up. But please know that you can communicate with them, that you are heard, and that God really does take care of us when it is our time to transition. And when I was put back in my body, I did feel the pain. You're back in the body. You feel everything in the body. I felt the chest compressions. My husband is a large construction worker, very muscular man. And my chest was very sore. My head was sore. I felt wonky, but I was too happy to care in that sense. But I hope that brings some peace
That was a
to
beautiful
viewers.
answer. Thank you. That was a beautiful answer. And there is another question that I've been wanting to ask you from the moment that we got on the call. The other day, I want to say last Sunday, I went to one of the IN's gathering, and it was a beautiful experience.
Mhm.
And there was this lady. She was over Zoom. She was telling us about her experience, very, very transformative experience as well. And then at the end, we got to ask questions. Not everybody did, but there was this one particular lady that you could see the, I don't want to say pain because it was not pain, but like the confusion in her eyes. So
Mhm.
she asked the lady that was telling her experience, "What now? Where do we go from here? I had a recent near death experience and I don't know what to do. Where do I go from here? What can I do?" So
Mhm.
what can you tell that person?
So I'm going to start crying because my guides are coming in really close. And as you know, you can feel their energy and their love, and I'm allowing them to come close. One foot in front of the other. Please know, again, look within. We can panic and what do I need to do? And look outside of yourself is what you need to do. There was a point, yes, I was riding the wave of bliss for a few months. But then I was very human again, and I was very Kristen. We'll just say that. I was very Kristen. And Kristen gets doubts and all of that. And okay, I know I'm up here. I know that's Kristen talking my ego. Let's go to the heart. Let's take a couple of breaths, and you want to breathe slower than normal. Usually a good count of breaths of in for 5, out 2, 3, 4, 5, with your hands on your heart to course correct and center so you can hear from your spirit brain, from your heart. That's the connection right there. What are my next steps? And let it go. Do something that brings you joy. I love to garden. Call a friend and chat with them, laugh with a friend, go out to eat, play with the kids, play and hold your animals. What brings you joy? Paint, try painting, swim, whatever it is that you feel that you get the nudge to do. And in those moments when you're not thinking about it, because the guides say you can't see the forest through the trees. So play just like God is. Be magic, play, do what you can, and it will come to you. Because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll ask a question, and it's normally when I'm in the shower that I'll get all of these answers. I put things out there, or I'll ask questions when I'm doing sessions. And that's what, because I'm just not thinking, or I'm doing the dishes, or maybe I'm vacuuming, or I'm in the garden. When you least expect it, that's when all of that comes forward. And the other thing too, this is something that came forward when I was speaking to another group of people. You know how it feels like you can, okay, I'm doing wonderful. And you take like 20 steps forward and then you take like 100 back. The guides say, look at it as a slingshot. Sometimes you need to go back before you can charge forward.
Yes.
That is Kristen. This is like when you said I teach and I share by my experiences, that's exactly how I teach and how I work as well. Because I needed to fall backwards and feel like I was just totally lost in order to find myself. And that sticks with you. It's not going to stick with me if somebody else puts a Band-Aid on it and I go to someone else that channels and they channel me the answer. You know the answer. And that is so empowering. It stinks. I'm not going to lie. It's hard when you're in it. It is hard when you're in it. But just know that X marks the spot and you're always on it. You're always on that spot. But trust you, give that moment and take a break, because when you're forcing it, say, okay, Spirit, I need an answer to this. What are my next steps? What am I supposed to do? Take an afternoon, a weekend, and state it to them. State it to your guides. Take that weekend, a week. I don't care what it is, an hour. Go do things that bring you joy. Get a foot massage. I don't care. Do a hobby. Be with someone that makes you laugh and smile and get out of your head. And I promise you, you're going to get these epiphanies and these things that come forward that are the answers to your questions. Someone's going to say something, a book is going to pop up, and you feel this nudge, this pull from your heart space, like that's my answer. You just know it from within. We just need to allow it, because we're so accustomed to looking outside of ourselves and looking to the news and all these different things for the answers to our questions. And it's not a book that we can go to and read, and we can't Google it. We need to go here. And it doesn't feel good when you stumble, because I know I've done it, but it is the most profound experience, and it really is a slingshot, and it catapulted me forward, and I know how to course correct now. And I can, yes, I'll be in it. Sometimes I want to be in it for a little long, because when you're upset and you want to be,
Yeah.
your ego wants to be upset. Sometimes Kristen wants to be upset, and it's okay. I'll let her be upset, and then I can course correct from there. But truly, truly, truly trust yourself. That's what worked for me. And I found myself in like a little bit of a pit. And I needed to remember to ask for help and how to get it and all of that. And it really catapulted me forward a lot more on my journey.
Trust yourself. That seems to be the theme of the call today.
It is. It is. It's the theme of the call. Go within and trust yourself.
Exactly. So, Kristen, if the members of the audience wanted to find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing, where could they find you?
You can find me at www.infiniteheartandsoul.com. I am on Instagram and Facebook as well, and my services and everything are on there. I'm actually doing a free live event. I call it a night with spirit. So all of that is on my website as well.
Do you have any other projects that you're currently working on that you would like for the audience to know about?
So it's really funny. I was told years ago that I was meant to be out there and to do things. And I started out with doing sessions. I will be running a class. It's a 7-week group channeling class, how to channel different types of channeling guides or mediumship, whatever you want to do. And it's all different levels. My mom actually takes the class too. And that should start. I'm thinking it's going to start in September, but everything will be posted. And then the night with spirit. So I really want to do more lives to put more out there, to be able to do mini readings and sharing teachings from my guides. It not only helps others, but it helps me on my journey. And I'm shy about being out there. It's one thing to talk about my experience. It's another thing to really be out there and doing the channeling and the light language and the healings and all that kind of stuff. So I will be out there a lot more.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And do you have any last words for the audience?
I do. So I was going to say it, but I was in the middle of answering one of your questions. Okay. And as I'm looking outside right now, I'm looking at my garden because I love to garden. And when I look at the garden, I do take cues from what I see out there, because spirit will speak to me through the garden. So Gaia will speak to me and I'll know what to bring up and different things. So when I first sat down before the call, there was a butterfly dead center right in front of me, wings open and closed. And then there was a dragonfly that came right in front of me. And my patio, the awning is like 20 feet out. It's a big patio. So for the dragonfly to come right here, and dragonflies signify transformation. So if you're in, now I'm going to start crying because I know how this feels. When you feel like something is off and you don't feel as happy, and what's wrong with me, and I feel stuck, or I feel unmagical, or I don't know what to do, these gifts are happening, where do I go, what do I do? this is the metamorphosis stage. You're feeling like the energy is changing. So you're feeling a change in vibration, which feels weird in the body, right?
Mhm.
Ground. Grounding is being in the body, just like we talked about a bit ago. Do things that raise your vibration. You're not ignoring what's going on. You're giving yourself that grounding energy, so that way you're able to hear the inner guidance better. So it's not being counterproductive. It is actually the most productive. So I always say, okay, I need to go to the plant nursery because, I get plants like I do shoes. So I'm like, I need to ground. I'm going to go to the plant nursery. So I'll go there and I'll just lose myself. And I talk because I know the people that own the plant nursery and I'm talking to them, or I talk with my friend, or just those people that you have those heart connections with, that you can just spill your guts and say things. You just want to be heard. And a lot of times you notice how you answer your own questions when you talk, because you're channeling when you're talking. You're just like letting it go. And you're like, oh, maybe I should do that. I'm feeling I should do that. I should probably do that. And your friend's like, why did you call me again? Because you just answered your question. Glad I could be here. But this is a time of big change, not only for the earth, but it's us. It's our energy that's transforming the earth. So honor yourself where you're at. Do your grounding, play, paint, run around outside, go for walks, be in nature, use your own creativity, sit with people and laughter and all of that. And that brings more profound channeling for yourself. And it really helps you ground in the body and helps you feel more centered. And then you can say, okay, but put the question out there. What direction am I supposed to go in? Then ground, then do all those things with the intention of receiving the answer. So allow the answer to come in the form of a book. It comes up on TV. Someone says something, whatever it might be. It will amaze you. It will amaze you. I promise you. So trust in that. There's so much beauty that's coming. And again, it can feel uncomfortable because the vibration is changing and it can be uncomfortable in the body to feel that. But know that that is very, very common. And drinking your water, getting your fluids, being good to your body, exercising, qigong, Pilates, yoga, breath work, all these different things that you feel the nudge to try or to do or continue. Please go ahead and do that, because that's going to help you through these stages. Not every day feels wonderful, I know, but you'll get this breath of fresh air that does come with it. And you feel like, okay, I got this. I found this answer. This found me. And I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. And you'll be led to different shows, to different YouTube channels, to all these different things that might pop up and books that can help you along your way, because you've allowed yourself to ground and become a resonant frequency for the things that you're looking to bring into your life. So we just get in our own way. So when I came out during my NDE and I felt so free, it's because I didn't have those lower vibrational emotions and I could see everything just like our higher self can see. So go back in and ground, and you'll see that you have this higher perspective and a skip in your step as well. And you got this.
Thank you so much again, Kristen, for that beautiful message. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you and speaking with you today.
Thank you so much. It was so fun. I love the rabbit holes.
Yes, absolutely too. All right, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.